Pennsylvania's own Michael Smerconish is also with us this morning. Michael, what are you making of what you're seeing in these numbers, especially for the White House, and what this means for Democrats? Because typically the White House is bracing for some serious losses here. That is exactly what they would expect, given it is the sitting president. His approval rating is not great. What is your reaction this morning?
So all politics being local, I, of course, am Philly burb based. They are a bellwether of what's going on in the national climate. Yesterday, I was with you from Bucks County, and I said, welcome to the swingiest of counties in a swing state. What's amazing to me as I scrutinize these numbers is how John Fetterman was able to outpace his statewide numbers in those Philly burbs. So in an area where you would think it would be right on the bubble, right on the margin, instead, he blew away Mehmet Oz in Bucks County, in Montgomery County. And it's so shocking, I'm almost reluctant to give the number on CNN because I can't believe it's as high as it is. Josh Shapiro is a resident of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. That may have accounted for the boost that Fetterman received there. But to answer your question, if I were the White House, I'd be looking specifically at the Philly burbs and trying to take away a lesson from how successful Shapiro and Fetterman were in the final analysis.
Yeah, and on that front, Al, when it came to Mehmet Oz, I heard from a lot of Republicans, a lot of curse words were included in their messages about how upset they were that Mehmet Oz ended up being the candidate because they thought Dave McCormick, who he ran against in that primary and beat him by about 900 votes, they thought he could have actually taken on Fetterman. What'd you make of that? Were you surprised at all by Fetterman's victory?
I think just another aspect to that that's important is that while the former president endorsed Oz, he was really not a favorite of a lot of Trump voters and groups in Pennsylvania. So they sort of came along reluctantly toward the end, and they backed him to the hilt. But there's a lot of thought that, McCormick would have been more competitive.
Did most of that have to do with the criticism that came from the Fetterman campaign saying, he's not really from here, he doesn't really live here, comparing him to a carpetbagger, something that didn't help when he was talking about a Steelers game in the last few days of the race? There was no Steelers game that week.
And the polling and your research does show that issue about not living in Pennsylvania is a pretty significant one. And as I know Michael and others have said, it's not just not living in Pennsylvania, it's living in New Jersey,
right.
Which is a whole different matter.
And sort of not being a man of the people, right? That's what Fetterman in his hoodies and with his tattoos, I think, exuded for so many people. And even the stroke made him more human. And I think voters were very empathetic with his struggles.
And the enormous risk he took in participating in that final debate where he hung a lantern on his problem, that people thought it would really hurt. But, I think there's a lot to be taken from sort of a populist Democrat reaching out to white working class voters or just working class voters in general, playing outside the base. And again, someone not living in a state for most of their life, you'd think rationally that would hurt. And the deal that Oz made with Donald Trump to get this. But the other national thing to look at is actually Republicans narrowly won the suburbs. So Democrats won independents narrowly, Republicans narrowly won the suburbs nationally. That may be more evident in places like New York than in Pennsylvania, apparently. But that's a fascinating undercurrent to this election.
It didn't seem that close with Josh Shapiro and Mastriano, but what's your reaction to that, given Mastriano is someone who questioned openly the results of the election, was talking about how these elections are being conducted?
And he and others like him had certainly targeted Philadelphia and suggested that, somehow the vote count was underhanded or corrupt in some way, which of course was a paranoid fantasy that has captivated so many people's minds. But I think from that race, what I think is particularly interesting is Shapiro's campaign and Fetterman's campaign were so different from one another, but had the same goal. And that goal was to bring in voters other than just their Democratic base, whether it was Shapiro reaching out to moderate Republicans or whether it was Fetterman reaching out to white working class rural Democrats. Republicans.
John, what do you make of that?
Look, that's what politics is supposed to be in America, the politics of addition, not the politics of division. But we've seen the politics of division narrowly win victories, and that was one of the big questions handing over to the national election, right? It was, can these election deniers who can win a partisan Republican primary with Donald Trump's endorsement, can they cross over and win a general election in a purple state? Well, the answer to date seems to be no, right? Pretty decisive repudiation. Now, we'll see what happens as we move west. in some of these key races that aren't called yet. But
Like
the
with Kari Lake.
Like with Kari Lake and others. But the fact that Democrats narrowly won independent voters last night is stunning in terms of the typical pendulum swing of midterm elections. And that suggests that Donald Trump is a drag on the Republican Party.